It's so
I'd
bizarre,
love to
isn't
talk to a
it?
psychologist, not a sports one, about like,
What's actually happening?
you know, like the head coaches and stuff. Maybe not one of them, but one that's like,
From outside of sport.
I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Basically,
that can rationalise the thing we're talking about.
Yeah.
It's not like results driven. It's like, what are you actually...
Basically, I would stay with them until they said I would make a good fighter pilot.
Yeah. And then pay them.
Yeah.
You clearly know what you're talking about.
Right answer. Here we are. You were the last guest of 2024.
We're on, we're rolling.
Yeah, let me do the intro and then we'll definitely... Because now you've come in and they've ruined it and now everyone knows that you're here.
It's Jono!
Hey!
Bang.
Now you're the first. First of 25, new year, new you.
New year, new me.
New year, new you, new you.
Deja vu.
You were the... Last year you were our first guest in 2024. And that 2024 went very badly.
Did it?
Yeah, so hopefully you bring in this year with a bit more...
Oh, the podcast, not the whole year.
Actually, would you have said 2024 went badly in terms of the world? Was 2024 a good year for you? Good year, pardon the pun.
We
Wasn't
did
a
some
pun.
trips together.
With Goodyear
With Goodyear.
tyres.
No, I think it was a fine year.
Fine year.
A fine year. A lovely wine.
Out of 10.
7.
A
Could be
7
higher.
out of 10 year. Yeah, not bad.
What was yours?
Mine started bad. I broke my hand and arm on the 3rd of January last year.
On
So
the
already we're doing better.
Canyon Gap.
Yeah. And I haven't been back yet to do it.
Are you going to?
Don't really want to, no.
Which means you will.
Rather not. Probably will.
I forgot that. That's gone quick. A whole year. Is it all good now?
Yeah, well, good luck. Actually, no, my hand's not very good.
Right.
Permanent damage there, yeah. Okay. Permanent damage sustained. But my one didn't start until like March, I feel like, because...
Of the injuries. Yeah.
Yeah. When we went to Guanajuato.
Yes.
So that was first riding I did.
Oh, I love this remembering stuff that you did.
What did you do for the year? Come on, what's first thing?
I
January.
think that was the big one at the start of the year.
Yeah.
Guanajuato.
Working
Which
towards
actually
that.
was one of my biggest achievements of the whole year because I got on the live feed. Because
Yeah,
Ollie
you
and I
did.
went the year before, didn't we? Through your persuasion and your help to get there, actually, through the organising party. So thank you for that. And then, well, your introduction.
Mate, how much it must have been such a steep learning curve, and then to get in the live feed is like
Yeah. Well, year one was exactly that. It's your bike doesn't work like I've known it to for over 20 years on dirt when you're turning down steps and things. Like it just doesn't. You've done it as well. It's
So what do you do to
different
yours?
sport. Rock hard. But I learned that the hard way. So I took an enduro bike the first year, my spin drift, which is still 180, and just wanted everything slacker and more travel so that you can have it rock hard and have a little bit more small bump. So the first year I didn't make it into the final. Second year went back with a downhill bike with more understanding of how that stuff works and a bit less fear of just the whole event.
How
And
far
got
off were you
into
from the final in the first one?
Not that far.
Nah.
I struggled with the altitude the first time. I guess
Yeah.
it's the same altitude the second time, but maybe I just knew
It
it.
could have sunk.
It could have sunk. What an event, though. I'd love
So
to do more
good.
of them. I would love to do more of them.
So good. You are there for a real short period of time as well, so the altitude will no doubt be... The earlier you get there, the more of an advantage. I think just like...
Yeah.
I don't really understand that stuff that
It's just
much.
loads to
but
take in. Second year was awesome. Made it
Yeah.
to the live feed
So good.
and was like mission accomplished. Yeah. And that was only March. And then...
Straight into the hot seat. Bang!
What else did we do? We did Slovenia together.
So that was literally your first thing?
First big trip. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then summer's when it all happens for me, I guess. We did Slovenia trip straight after Hardline. That's it. I went from Hardline to Slovenia. Then we did Mega Avalanche. Hard Rock is always a good one.
Yeah, see, I've never done that. That's like your event, isn't it?
I love it.
Did you win it?
I did win it a few years ago, but then haven't since. There's so many people, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, and big. It's like a festival feel. Everyone's camping, loads of expo there, big stage with like a rock band or DJs. You just feel like you're bumping into your friends all week, and there's loads to do for families and everyone.
That list of things is quite diverse, isn't it? That your
of events. I did Fort William in May.
Yeah, there you go. So you
were there with Deeks and Brent.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've got a street race in Mexico. You've got a
World Cup at Fort William. It would have been.
Yeah, you've got a multi-day. Is it multi-day hard rock enduro? Multi-day.
Yeah, with practice,
stage race. Yeah. A stage race in the UK. You've got World Cup downhill. Got Mega
Hardline.
You've got the biggest jumps on a racetrack in the world. Quite a weird guy, really, aren't you? That's quite a year, isn't it?
Yeah, I love looking back at it, actually.
Did you ever think you'd be doing that?
What, that sort of year?
Yeah, like imagine Jono Junior.
That's a nice thing to ask, actually.
But imagine him hearing
really cool.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd like this year to be very similar. Yeah, here's to that.
Copy and paste it. So not New Year, New You, just New Year, sort of same thing. That's what
but
I
without
sort of think.
Full-time work. Well, without banking, obviously.
Yeah.
So it will be a different feel this year, definitely.
John, I've got a favour to ask before we go on. This episode has been brought to us it's been brought to you by Magic Mind. Now, we've got some somewhere. Have you got one?
I have, yeah.
Yeah. And we're going to do a live drink-along taste test with Jono. The January campaign, I'm actually just reading from... Davey's really good at this, but I'm not, so I'm just reading from the thing. So it says, the January campaign is about inspiring the audience to prioritise mental wealth. I like that, because this is kind of going along with our New Year, New You theme. It's the proactive investment in mental resilience across 5 key pillars: sleep, diet, exercise, stress management, and exogenous compounds. What I like about this campaign, and what I don't like about a lot of New Year's resolutions, is that it's not about quick fixes, but it's about building long-term habits that set you up for mental success. Basically, Magic Mind is a mental performance shot, and we are going to try that now, here with Jono. So when I could have really done with this was when I was doing a big travel block, or you have loads of trips back to back, and you just need focus and clarity, and that's what Magic Mind is great for. So Jono, we're going to have cheers.
Cheers.
Chin chin.
To Magic Mind.
To Magic Mind. I actually added a small ASMR moment during that.
I heard it and felt it. That's
Did
actually nice.
Did you like it? It is nice. It's really nice. So if you would like to try Magic Mind and you would like to practice and build your mental wealth in 2025, head over to magicmind.com/companion and get 45% off a Magic Mind bundle. That's right, it's magicmind.com/companion. Now, I really want to talk to you, even though you probably don't want to talk about it, about your job in the city. Because I think that you probably don't talk about it because you probably don't think people find it interesting because
it's my thing.
Yeah, because this is biking and it's like the fun thing that you do. And you probably think that people wouldn't be interested. Whereas I know people are super interested. You always just reply with, I work in banking.
Yeah.
What does that mean, actually?
I've had a few different roles at the bank I've worked for, past tense now. Some have been in risk, some have been in what you call like portfolio management. The last few years has been in lending to energy and infrastructure businesses or projects. So banks' money is like a typical bank, not an investment bank's money is made through having loads of deposits. They pay a small percentage to you to hold, and then they'll use that money to lend to businesses at a higher percentage, and the net interest margin, the difference between those two percentages, is their income.
Understood. So that's specifically talking about lending for projects. Is that the last one that you were working on?
Yeah. So my role was on the lending side to selective infrastructure and energy businesses that would approach the bank either themselves or through an advisory company looking to raise money to build, for example, a wind farm or a solar farm, or to refinance their existing debt. Say it's a port or a ferry company or a fibre network, anything in infrastructure or energy. And we would analyse that business, see if they have the ability to repay the money that we're going to lend them, try and understand the key risks, work out what the pricing should be relative to those risks, i.e. the margin that they're going to pay. And there'll be a lot of what we call due diligence provided from third-party people around the legals of the...
I like saying due diligence. I like saying
word,
it.
Isn't
Yeah,
it?
It is really nice. Yeah, it is really nice. I don't feel like I ever have the need to say it in my life, but I like when I do say it.
Say it again.
Have you done your due diligence?
Nice.
Thanks.
And you get a financial model, which is just a Excel document with like hundreds of tabs.
So is this the most complex Excel document ever?
They're wild. How complicated they are. But that's what you use to run different scenarios of the business based on macroeconomic inputs, like interest rates, inflation, things like that, or inputs relative to the business. So literally wind speed or downtime for wind turbines if it was that, or the amount that the sun is shining if it's a solar farm, and then you can look at how they'll perform based on that for years to come.
Okay, so let's just say it's the solar farm. They've approached. Who do they go to, and when does it reach you?
They'd typically talk to an advisory company that has relationships with the banks, and together would structure a lender-friendly proposal. So something that the banks would typically say yes to. And then that's when it will be sent to the banks, and we'll look at it, and then you'll submit terms back to that customer on what the proposed margin might be, what different contractual arrangements we would propose in response to that. And then they'll have a short list of potential banks to work with. But a lot of these companies want to borrow an awful lot, and they'll need to select multiple banks to lend them that much. It won't come from one, it'll come from a club.
So it gets like horrifically complicated.
And all those banks need to align on the terms, because it'll be the same contractual structure across all of them.
Do you feel like you really know 100% what every aspect of it, or do you know a really specific bit of it?
You get like, there's so many companies taking fees throughout the slice. Like there's lawyers helping to arrange the legal side taking fees. There's people who are experts in solar panels telling the banks and customer that you're doing the right thing, you're selecting the right technology. They're taking fees, the banks want fees. It's like, but by the time you get to the end, there's so much knowledge has been pumped in at a price that everyone's sort of sharing that out. But do I know what I'm talking about? No, I haven't done it for that long. I'm doing something else, but I really enjoyed it. Learned loads, worked with some really, really clever people.
So now, just if you imagine you were talking to maybe I was going to say a child or a Labrador, and you're explaining, golden retriever, yeah. So what does your actual day look like? Because this is what I always think when you speak to someone who's got a job that probably you're not going to understand. They have to give you this watered down version, and they have to talk in like broad terms and make it so you understand as much as you can. Yeah. You know, like you're trying to give information, but not, you can't go into specifics. But I never know what it actually means. Like, okay, what actually you do day to day.
So the aim of the game if you're working as I was on the ground trying to put a deal together, is going through hundreds of pages of this due diligence and a really complicated financial model to try and write an investment paper or what we call a credit committee paper that you'll present to a team that works within the bank that will either say yes or no.
Okay.
So you got to take all of that masses of information, pull out the key parts, the key risks, present that in a concise way to try and get an approval.
So there's still quite a lot of room for like human error in it. There's quite a lot of room then, even if it goes through a team with you involved, there's still a lot of like things that could change or go wrong or like mess up or...
Yeah, but that a strong proposal will try and cover for all of those risks, including the business risks that ultimately you're lending to. You'll look at multiple different scenarios to ensure that if the unthinkable happens in the world, then we're covered.
Yeah.
But I don't do that anymore. Now I work for my brother.
Yeah.
With my brother.
Yeah.
For my brother.
That's very cool. That's very cool. Do you hate talking about... Did you enjoyed working in the city, didn't you?
Yeah. Loved it. Really, just the people I worked with, I was really fortunate. They were all very patient, gave me a lot of support and taught me, you know?
Yeah.
I think that's really valuable, to not be left alone and to have people willing to answer questions, no matter where you work, whatever industry it is. That's super powerful. Similar to if you go riding with people more senior to you or better than you, if they're willing to explain how to hit a jump, suddenly you're weeks further along, aren't you, than working it out the hard way, getting injured, getting something wrong, trying again.
Yeah,
it's like any walk of life. Just having someone that's willing to take the time is so valuable.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I was fortunate to have that. So yeah.
Oh, it's mega interesting. You work in numbers in risk, and then you work in mountain biking, also kind of in there's elements of risk that you're like weighing up, but it's quite different, isn't it? A hard line.
Comparing the two. I've thought about this and I've answered questions on it before, but I definitely you don't have to be one or the other. I feel like it's the environment you're in that you set your mindset based on that. Like if I was really risk averse, then I wouldn't do the Mexico street race or hardline. But then if I was just up for craziness all the time, couldn't have held down a corporate job.
I think you're more crazy than I, because you jump off cliffs and stuff into water. And for me, my risk. Me and the committee sit on a round table and we talk about whether I should jump off the rock into the water, and all of us say categorically no, we will not be jumping off the cliff into the water. But you love jumping off cliffs into water.
Really love it.
Yeah. Why?
Yeah. But then I've done it since, like, our family holiday growing up was to Cornwall every summer, and Matt and I would go down onto the headland with the big boy locals who'd jump in and we'd like, let's have a go, and we'd do it. So I love it because I've done it loads. But
so the risk is not as big.
I feel like I have a familiarity. Say it for me.
Familiarity.
It doesn't sound right, does it? Familiarity with hitting the water.
Yeah,
and being okay. I don't know.
Is there anything interesting? Is there even? Am I going down a cul-de-sac talking about risk financially and? I think it's all the same thing.
What, associating the two active, like, the work with the sport?
Yeah, and just in general. I think you've told... maybe I don't know.
It's strange, but I had a boss at work that really liked mountain biking and used to do massive stuff that I know of up the woods and things, you know. I'm not the only one. Josh Lowe did work in finance, I think, or a startup in London, and was racing hardline at the same time as me. I reckon if you dig deep, there's a few.
But there's a few. I always find it interesting in endurance sports. There's loads of I only know because George does these my girlfriend does these giant super endurance races on her road bike, and they're all doctors and you know what I mean. There's this weird. There is
Trans Madeira.
Ah, really?
When I went. That's what got me into enduro, that event, actually. But I did that with Brendan in 2020 because it was the only COVID race that was on, so we just flooded there. And similar, really professional clientele.
Yeah.
A lot from like Switzerland in big corporations and things.
Yeah, there you go.
It's interesting, isn't it? They really want just a big challenge. I think it's not a cheap race to enter compared to, your local race. And I guess that's got a part to play in it. But yeah, met some fascinating people there. And the endurance stuff's the same, I think, isn't it? You see a lot of people I guess in finance and similar things, really loving Ironman and stuff like that.
Ironman's a great example, isn't it? Yeah. Ironman's
like
loads of people that have been through a divorce, isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't it?
And I've bought like one of those treadmill swimming pools in there.
Yeah.
That just keeps flowing.
Yeah. I don't do it for me. Oh, you just ran up and down the steps. Did we talk about that in the quiz? We did talk about the quiz, yeah.
Don't need to talk about that again.
Let's not talk about it again.
It hurt.
You're doing another one though, aren't you?
Doing the Hyrox things.
Yeah.
Yeah. We did speak about this in quiz, and I was like, but that's me done. I'm not doing those. I'm not like a fitness guy. But yeah, I'm doing another one with Johnny Thompson, who you had on the podcast, Fit for Racing. So him and I are doing one together solo, but in like the same race.
And what's Hyrox? I don't know much about CrossFit, but I'd say it's like an accessible CrossFit. It's based on running and burpees and ski machines and rowing machines. So it's like a really accessible fitness challenge for people. Yeah.
So you run a kilometre, do a thing, run another kilometre, do a thing 8 times.
What are you drawn to about what draws? Why do you like that?
Johnny got me a ticket, so I said I'll do it. But then the first time I did it,
that's it.
Well, everyone just was doing them, and it's like it took me an hour and a half.
I think it's
cool. And it was like half a day, and it's there.
I think it's cool, but you are clearly drawn to them because you do all of these like challenges and things, don't you? You've always done all these.
But I think that's just saying yes to like other people.
Oh, is it?
No, I guess Hyrox I just wanted to do. I'd recommend for anyone that's up for like a fitness challenge, those Hyrox events are really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, they actually are, yeah. All shapes and sizes there. You can just run your own race. You should do one.
Would you say Hardline is a good sort of challenge?
You brought me back off Hyrox, didn't you?
Yes.
Banging on about that.
I do burpees, man.
Yeah, it's so scary. The course changes are really cool every year because you get a lot of familiarity. Oh, it's that word again.
You said it really nicely, though.
Thanks, Olly.
Yeah.
With the course, you get a bit of muscle memory turning back up there. So the different features are way easier the second year. So when the course changes, that's nerve-wracking but exciting to see something from a fresh again.
Yeah. I mean, of course, Hardline is scary. You know, like everyone listening to this will be like, yeah, Hardline is scary. But can you explain why? Like, what about it is scary for you? At what point does it get, like...
I've found it hard in the past because I've always get there like morning of track walk, haven't ridden a downhill bike for a while. So when you get driven to the top, it's like, get used to this bike again for 20 seconds and then you've got the first massive thing. That's always been hard, and you feel it. All the other riders have just come back from like 3 different World Cups. They've been up at Dovey for like a few days, and you can just see when they swing their leg over the bike at the top and put a hard pedal stroke in and drop in. You're like, oh, it's like they were riding this morning. It's kind of similar at the street race in Mexico. A few of those guys get there a bit earlier, and they'll go and find stairs that they know of, won't they? And get used to that feeling again. So I guess that comes down to preparation for me, which made it more scary. Also, I don't race loads of World Cups and downhill like I used to. So anything that's big and scary feels a little bit more out of water. I love being there and being part of it. I feel really proud to be at that event. Especially now Matt started doing them. we practice together. There's not an event that we both do together. Like it just doesn't happen. We used to race 4-cross together, and it's been like over a decade to bring us back to an event together, and for it to be the big one here in this country feels fantastic. And following him, and he'll follow me, and struggling together. You know, there's a lot of people that are there to win. Him and I aren't, but we're giving it a solid go, and we're doing it together. And that is, yeah.
I love
like
the idea.
Yeah, when I followed him through the 100-footers, I remember saying that is the best thing I've ever done. And to do it with him was like class.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So what was it like growing up then, you two? Like if you rewound it before that 10 years of slopestyle World Cup downhill, I guess that's what you're talking about, like the fork.
The fork in the disciplines, yeah.
Yeah. But when you're younger, it's just two wheels, isn't it? It's just like biking. Well,
yeah.
Well, you tell me. What was it?
It's you'll relate, Ollie. It's there's no direction when you're younger. There was no idea of where it could go, where it would go. It was just like dig a hole in the back of the garden and build like a molehill of a jump and see how far you can jump it. And then a scaffold board on 3 bricks and see how far you could jump it.
Yeah.
And then the Argos ramp, the blue ones, do you remember?
Yeah.
The plastic ones,
yeah.
See how far you can jump it. Then next Christmas, get the next Argos ramp so you can build a double. And it's like, you're just doing it because you can do it near your house. There wasn't like all these bike parks. There wasn't all these events that we knew about at all. It was just like the thing we loved to do close to home, with neighbours, you know. A lot of those people don't do it anymore. But at the time, it was just the hobby. So I loved it.
What role did either of you play? I know you're identical twins, but there must have been like a...
In terms of...
Did you just say at the same time, let's go outside and ride the jump at exactly the same moment?
We laugh. It's like a gag now, but he always enjoyed building jumps. So he would be more of the create what we ride. Oh, we made like North Shore with like scaffold boards and bricks and like milk cartons and anything that was just around in neighbours' gardens and things. You build just sketchy stuff. But yeah, he always had more of the role of let's create it. Oh, once I jumped, we set the jump up somewhere else, and we had an orange washing line across our garden, and the back of the house was orange brick, and it was like camouflage, and we sprinted in, and it got me right like across the neck. I remember that actually, in the garden, ripped off the back of the bike. We had a right laugh. And imagine it taking us here. Very lucky.
It's pretty cool, isn't it?
What about you and your brothers?
Never rode.
They were
We
big
played
on basketball, right?
Yeah, basketball. But then I was 3. I'm 3 years older than Oscar, who's younger than me, and then Henry's younger than that. Younger than me by 5 years, I think, and then Lucy's 7 years. So it was like...
So you led the biking and they didn't sort of follow, I guess.
Yeah. I did basketball first. And actually, if I'm completely honest with you, I don't know why, but I was like, oh, why are they copying me? I'm stoked about it now.
Cool now, I was about to say,
it's the coolest thing ever, and I can talk to them about it, and they know way more than me. So it's like my favourite thing to watch is basketball, and then I've got like an encyclopedia of knowledge. Like my brother's coaching a BBL team now, and just... I mean, it's way beyond what I can understand, but it's so cool. For me, it's so cool to just go and hang out with players and hear them talk about the game, and it's the best. But growing up, I wasn't like that at all. I was like, why are you copying me? Don't do basketball. Basketball's my thing. Which is so weird. I'm not really like that. I don't know. I was just... I don't know why I was like that. But I remember it being, we didn't really play together, and I was obviously bigger than them, so it was like less fun. And not less fun, but it would just be like you just dominate them. Yeah. I mean, I get so dominated now. Basketball is it's such a shame, dude. It's such a shame. I'm like 5 inches too short, too weak, pathetic.
We just did a gym session though, didn't we?
We did a gym session, yeah. Great fun.
Great
fun. Yeah, new year, new us. But I think the fact that you both have done the same thing in a different way is so interesting to me.
Thank you. Yes.
And you're just like best mates still. You're still like, when I watch videos of you two together, they're just like, anytime I see any content of you two together, it's just the best.
Yeah. It's awesome. I had a few years at university where I wasn't riding as much. And we weren't talking as much, just like on different programs. But recently, there's more stuff that have aligned, working together now. We just talk loads every day. It's wicked. Yeah. Very, very happy with how everything is. But yeah, no, he's a best mate.
Wicked.
Lucky, yeah.
Obviously, you did start doing downhill. Was that just naturally the thing that you wanted to do?
I really loved it. I loved going around corners.
Yeah, there you go.
And then that's
How
all it
interesting
was.
is that?
And there were just sandy corners at Woburn, which is fun because, like, if you grew up in like a rocky alpine town, I wouldn't like going around corners.
Yeah.
But your dirt that you've grown up with and similar to me, you can create your own rut falling around a corner
and just feel like a hero.
So good, yeah. And if you lay it down, you don't rip your elbow to pieces. So that's what I loved. And then we were both racing 4-cross. He was doing more and more jumps and tricks. I was doing more and more cornering up at Woburn on the hills. And that started to apply a lot to 4-cross. Like, I was the person that could inside everyone else in like the first turn. And it started to like apply to the racing side. And then, yeah, got a Moorwood. Do you remember Moorwood?
Mm-hmm.
Do you see them much anymore?
I wouldn't know if they're still going, actually. I'll be honest.
They're South African, I think.
Oh, were they? I thought they were American.
Oh.
No, but you probably know more.
You might know more.
I might do, but I don't normally know more.
And did a couple of little downhill races, like Chicksands mini ones. There's some Forest of Dean ones. If anyone wants to get into racing in the UK, into like downhill and stuff like that, those Forest of Dean mini downhills are so good. They're like 45 quid. You push your bike up, get plenty of runs in. The tracks aren't savage. It makes racing really intense. I'd recommend anyone to start through those channels if you're looking to race. And then I was on the downhill path then.
Yeah, so then you just end up not...
years.
Yeah.
Actually, Brendan was a huge part. I was already racing a lot, but I feel like he gave me quite a lot of access to bigger races. There's a guy called Paul Miles who used to work for the Giant factory team, who was local to Aston Hill, and he'd help me and Phil Atwell out a lot. And when we'd go to World Cups, he was instrumental for us, especially me. Like, you don't have a lot of help as a privateer. I'm not a good mechanic, didn't have a mechanic, but if I broke my bike, he'd always be there to help me out on the side, like literally on the side of his desk. You know, he's working with the World Cup team. I owe him so much. But Brendan too, I remember I had a terrible helmet as a junior. You might remember. I had a very, very flexible chin piece on it. And I didn't really know him. And we were chatting and he was like, "What's that helmet?" And pushed the chin guard together and like touched it. And he's like, "What on earth?" And then went to Montserrat World Cup and he had like a Troy Lee kit waiting for me that he got from Stick. And it was like the coolest thing ever. And then got another one when I went to World Champs at Leogang. And it like didn't have any logos on it. Do you know what I mean? It was just the kit that would come. And it was the best. So yeah, and then he took me under his wing a lot. We went to Crankworx together. He'd like always let me stay on his floor. So people like that were super helpful in the downhill days because it's not cheap running off to all those races. And I had product support at the time from different brands. Transition mainly as a junior, and Troy Lee and bits and pieces, but not financial support. So you cut corners a lot.
You're really, really good at it. At what point did you understand what it was about? When you start given stuff, I personally had no idea what I was doing. I just thought I was getting stuff because I was good. I was very, very young, so but as were you.
Yeah.
At what point did you think you understood what it's actually all about? Like what it is to be a pro rider, whatever that means.
Interesting question. You could think about this for ages, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Because it's hard to cast your mind back to what it felt like then. I think then a lot of it then was just, you were just desperate for the continuation of whatever was happening right now.
Yeah.
Which is, this is awesome. I'm like at massive races, regardless of the size of them, just doing what I want to do.
Yeah.
So long as I can make it to next weekend, that'd be amazing. So it's the continuation of that. So whether you're getting product or you're meeting people that would help you access that next race. I always had, so junior, I felt like I was a year early because I was racing in junior when there wasn't a junior World Cup category. You were just in with the elites.
Right, yeah.
And there'd be a little circle next to your name, you remember, and you'd count the circles, and that's where you came in junior. Good times. But it meant your result was always like, my best would have been 30 something.
It was quite cool though, because it like really stood out down the list.
Circles,
I remember the little circles, like, because you just looked for this top circle and then it's like upcoming talent, isn't it? It's like the
but the fact they introduced the junior category was epic. But I wish it had happened when I was doing it, because it meant you'd get like a factory team spot if you were decent, because they want those points in their overall team thing. Back to your question, I was always going to go to university. I had a place, I was doing like our UCAS applications, me and Matt, while racing in junior. So that was always the next step. And then got my place, and it was like, well, that's what I'll do next year. I'll be at university, but then deferred it, as did Matt. We both deferred our entries for a year, which you're allowed to do. It's a gap year, right? Then deferred again, which you're allowed to do. I think there was a caveat that it had to be for like a relevant reason.
Yeah.
Like sporting endeavours at a decent level or
then
something.
Does it become a gap year?
It was
when
gap year. Yeah.
When it goes for 2, the next one, it becomes longer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
yeah. And then I went in the third year, so deferred twice, and I went because I'd started struggling with crashes a lot. Like every race run. But Matt was killing it in slopestyle, and I don't know if he's just stopped replying. I wonder if he still defers them. There's no way, is there? But,
still deferring?
Yeah. But I don't know if
subjects?
I've answered your question, but that's like, I had that in the back of my mind.
Yeah,
so it's like,
it kind of does, because you didn't think I'm going to be a pro rider. You thought,
it didn't feel like let's do this forever. It was like, let's do it for as long as I can before university starts.
Yeah. Makes it quite fun. I think it's important. It's fun, isn't it?
Definitely.
I really remember being bad at it. That's realistically the reason I asked. Just not understanding why I was getting help from people, really. Literally not understanding. Didn't understand anything, because I wasn't really a very good... I think to start with, I wasn't a particularly good consumer of mountain bike products. So then I really didn't understand. I literally had no clue. But again, like you said, I wanted it to continue. Yeah, exactly, yeah. No, I ask you because I think I feel like you're super aware.
Yeah, some people like Paul, who I mentioned, or Hatch, a guy called Christian Hatcher used to run a team. There'd be people that would support you and sponsor you almost as volunteers, with
their time sort of thing.
They are sacrificing their own time to support people and see where they go.
Yeah.
They're like the unsung heroes, There's massive teams now that are businesses that are trying to support riders to better their offering to marketing budgets of brands. But there's a lot of people still that will just help people because they want to just see where they can get with it, Cheers to them.
Yeah, that's cool. The cool thing about sport, that is, I reckon, innit? Because it's like essentially everyone there is there really because they want to be there, which is, even if it is a business, it's still like the thing that you're passionate about.
Yeah.
Good thought. Let's go to an ad break. This episode is brought to you by Invisiframe. Now, I've just finished up building my new bike, and the very first thing I did was get my Invisiframe PPF ordered and fitted. In fact, I was terrified to even touch my jet ski custom Focus without it, I'll be honest. Now it's done, I'm happy hurtling down the rockiest of tracks without a care in the world, as I know my pride and joy is protected. The cool thing about Invisiframe is you can't tell. The kits are made to measure and you can't see it even has one on. In the meantime, it's protecting my two-wheeled investment, and I have the peace of mind that it will be worth more should I ever come to sell it. I mean, I don't think I will, but yeah. How do I get a kit, I hear you ask? Well, I simply visited invisiframe.co.uk and searched for my bike and model. I had a kit shipped to my door days later. Not only that, I have a secret code which gave me a 15% discount. And I'm willing to share it with companionship members because I'm a really, really nice guy. Enter The Ride Companion, all lowercase, at checkout and receive, that's right, 15% off your order. And that goes for more than just frame protection too. Invisiframe make PPF for forks, cranks and loads of other great products to keep your bike looking great. Head to invisiframe.co.uk and The Ride Companion for 15% off your order. Thanks, Invisiframe. Back to the show. We're back, and what an ad break that was.
I liked it.
Did you?
Yeah.
Be honest.
Yeah, I think it was good. Which one was it?
Thanks, man. It made an impact, you just don't know it. Okay, so we've covered lots of things here, but I'm still a bit stuck on I still just love the idea of you and Matt, you going to university, Matt pursuing slope style, and then spending these 10 years, not apart, but
doing your own thing,
yeah. Parallels, and then ending up at this event at Hardline. And like the clip of you two testing that big one, so good.
It really is, I think, the first proper event that we came back to. Really cool. Yeah. And I really hope it'll be the same again this year. He's doing Tasmania, I'm not. So hopefully back in Wales.
Amazing. You really love that event, don't you? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like the biggest sense of accomplishment. I got a flat tyre this year, so I didn't make it to the finish line, which leaves a heavy feeling of like, that's like the big bit when the crowd's there.
You got
and
top
there's
to
not many
rock
events
runs
where
in.
it's like that, where there's a big crowd. It's like you can see it coming in the distance, and it's like a hole in these people, and you just got to get into that. Fort William's very much like that. When you come over that, there used to be the Tissot jump, didn't it? Down, and then you can just see this like hole in the heads of people where you finish. Really, really sick. And yeah, I don't do many events like that anymore. So, Mexico fills up, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
that's a big.
That's
you come over
lined,
that finish
isn't it?
line jump, you just this roar and all these people. So there's that part of it, a sense of accomplishment.
Do you ever get
with
full
an
laps
atmosphere?
in?
But at Hardline,
Yeah.
most people would. I'd maybe try and do one, get quite a lot of arm pump, and then, which is surprising, right? You wouldn't think at a track like that that's not rough. It is in places, but between a lot of the big stuff, it's actually smooth.
Yeah.
But you just grip hard when you've got big hits, big pulls and big hits.
And high
and then
speed
you don't
as
really
well.
let off then. I think once you clench from the first one, you're just like locked then, aren't you? Maybe
Yeah.
not. Maybe that's a lot of nerves. So full runs, is that what you asked? Not loads of them.
Well, no, I suppose it's not. It's super. It makes it more annoying that you flattered in your finals, because if you'd done loads of full runs in a way, that'd be more annoying because you know you can do a full run. But then also in a way, in finals, to get a full run in is like a big accomplishment, isn't it? And if you're saying you only do one full run in practice, then it must make it quite a buzz in finals to complete.
Yeah, I didn't really think about it like that. Yeah, you're quite right.
It's like a rampage run.
Each one of those jumps, right, anywhere else is the thing.
Yeah.
So then linking them all together is like the accomplishment, the buzz, the everything. It just ties it all together.
Yeah, I
Because
think
a lot of the week is spent ticking one off, another one. Now do those two together. Now do that one up there and this one down here. Like, especially with the wind, sometimes the middle section of the track will be red flagged and you'll roll around everything. So even if you wanted to do a full run, you're playing with the elements a lot.
Yeah.
There might be rain and there'll be ruts and stuff can't be hit. There's not many tracks in the world where you can't ride the whole track all the time. Like, they've made it big, and to be able to ride that, you actually have to have the weather on side. Same as big freeride events, right? They make it as big as they can for the best conditions. And then when the conditions aren't there, actually there's a missing piece. You can't even do it.
Yeah.
That's
It's
when you
so
know
true,
stuff's stretched, right?
Yeah, it's right
when
there,
everything
isn't
has
it?
to be right.
Mm.
Sick.
What does it feel like ticking things off? What's your process ticking things off?
I get weird that one. You know what I'm like when I get hyper, but that normally happens first day of practice. Like super nervous. And then I know a couple of years I just drop in first because it's like, just get it done. And then you try and carry that through. The road gap sucks. I find it so scary. But better this year. I this year, or should I say last year, was up there for a few days before filming with Jonny Walker.
Yes.
Who was on his motorbike, enduro bike. Oh,
Right.
I could talk for ages about this.
I really, that was on my list of things to ask you about. Because that must have been fascinating, dude.
It was. To finish off that story, we got to the road gap, him and I had my bike with me because that's the scary bit, right? For anyone. It's all scary, but I think he was nervous about that, so wanted to see someone do it in the flesh before he did it.
Yeah.
And I was the presenter for that project, but then had my bike. And the way it turned out, I ended up riding some of the course with him. And he ended up following me off the road gap. So I had to do it with no other mountain bikers there, without myself seeing anyone else do it, and put on a brave face for him. So I remember just after ticking that off on my own, having to work it out on my own after not being there for a year, was full of confidence for the following week, for the race week. I was pumped. But to talk about Jonny, what a cool concept for a motorbike to ride one of the hardest mountain bike courses in the world. Shouldn't work, should it? And he was a boss. Really, really strange. And the suspension on motorbikes, I didn't think was as good as it is, especially his stuff. I think he put motocross stuff in rather than the really soft enduro, but he would land so deep off of the road gap, off of the big drop, and like, he's a strong dude, but like his arms would just boom. You know, you did that on a mountain bike, you're crashing or you're snapping your bars.
Yeah, it sort of doesn't make sense, does it? They're small wheels. I guess
and they're so heavy. Like him and his bike must be 200 kilos together, and then he can land like that far and get stopped. So when we were looking at the road gap, I remember talking to people. I was like, "Well, you won't stop for the corner. How can you? Right? Look how heavy that bike is. Let alone you've got to land and then find the foot brake and whatever. I reckon he could land deep like he did nearly every time and stop before the corner if he wanted to. You know. And on a mountain bike, you go around that. That's the fastest I've ever gone around a corner, and I want to be going slow. It's amazing. Remember, G popped up to watch some of it, and you could see his like the cogs turning, and he was like, "There's a lot to be learned from these bikes." You know, like how big,
true, isn't it?
How big they can go. But he, where we're just descending with gravity, he's got a throttle. Obviously, that's obvious, but wait for me. Which made it hard to communicate like speed recommendations, because on a push bike, you're like, roll from there. Nearly everyone rolls the same.
Yeah.
You can pop a little bit, so explain that to your mate, and you should get it almost right. For him, he doesn't coast like a push bike does.
No.
It's like clutch drag. He's got big, heavy, soft tyres that don't roll the same.
And relies on acceleration.
He'd watch me roll in, and then he'd go, but then you can't really pull up and pop like you can on a push bike, so he'd like blip the throttle. So there was so much different factors at play for him, which was just more testament to how skilled he is.
Yeah.
Like you're being shown something wrong for your discipline, and he could adapt that in his head and make it work for his. And there were some bits that he's like a lot slower on, techie tight stuff, and then other bits he's like full speed in fourth gear. For those 100-footers, I've got a video on my phone. He's like comes over that lily pad, and then he is full chat. You can hear the bike, wah, and then he locks both wheels up the lip, and then just blup. So he's like braking as hard as he can to not jump 100 foot too far.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I guess also it relies on like acceleration through the lip as well, so you can't like...
Which generates a lot of height. Yeah, you can't just keep braking. You've got to add a little bit of...
Yeah.
Up. So it's just the whole thing. I just was amazed the whole time. Really cool project.
Wow,
Felt very,
yeah.
very lucky to be there. And his time on like a worn out course, because it hadn't been fully prepped, he did 2 full runs and he got close to Jackson's time.
Wow.
Right? The fastest ever hardline time at that point on the old course. And then after we said and done, we found that he went like a long way round in the top woods, round a tree, which doesn't sound like a big deal. It's a long way round. So I think like for like course, same time.
How fascinating. I mean, I don't know what I would... Do you know what? I'm not sure what I'd put my money on. If you just gave it to me as a problem to solve, who's quicker down that?
Well, before seeing that, I'd put everything I've ever had on a mountain bike.
There you go.
And like they on the project at the start, you see like Tane, Bernard, different people being like, well, will he even get down? Right? Cast back to before you saw the fact that he did.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about that sport, but I know that those bikes are ridiculously heavy. And
Yeah.
if you wanted to jump an e-bike off that road gap or off one of those big drops, you are not stopping, you know? And they're like 10 kilos more than our bikes. He's on something 70 kilos more, 80 kilos more.
Right,
But
we can
it's
work
just
this. So
grip and brakes.
yeah, so that's down to the weight being transferred more efficiently to the ground, right? Because it's like more weight, gravity is constant, but he has more weight and he has grip because he has lower PSI and better suspension. Like, why is it that he can overshoot the road gap and then stop sooner than a mountain bike? I think if you were, it would be that it's heavier, right?
No.
Why?
Heavier makes it worse. But you're trying to say that the weight's pushing the tyre into the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the weight allows the suspension to be better and the tyres...
Yeah, so the weight...
The weight does play... I think the weight does...
pushes into the ground. You get a larger force into the ground.
Yeah.
But our problem on mountain bikes is that then doesn't transfer into grip.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like...
So if we had bigger tyres...
Yeah, there would be no point in putting on like we've already learned
I
from
see what you're
downhill.
saying. So the weight's the good thing if you've got the rest of the stuff that will allow it to...
Yes,
grip.
exactly. Yeah, because like you could put a massive rotor on a mountain bike, a downhill bike,
But you just lock.
Yeah, you just lock.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have, you can't like get the power to the ground, I guess. Is that right? So then you could add weight to get the power to make that braking power effective.
No, it's the grip. Add the weight, it'll make it worse on a mountain bike because you haven't got the grip in the first place.
Yeah, so you need to
the
add
grip.
weight and grip. It's like a triangle.
Yes.
Oh, it's really. What was the feature that you found the most difficult? I mean, I'm sure you could just watch the video, but
He did.
yeah,
Oh, sorry, I thought you asked me.
I'll ask you
He
that.
spent
next.
a lot of time looking at the road gap. Even running in, he's on like you can't turn round. So he'd like be on the edge and he'd do like a wheelie turn, you know,
Yeah,
and then ride up, and you can't turn around at the top very easy. So he'd like ride up the rock garden and do another wheelie turn in the middle of the rock
riding
garden
up
and ride
the rock
back
garden
down.
is so hard.
So cool. So cool. That's the bit he spent a lot of time on just because it's scary and blind.
Yeah,
The last straight he just did because it's small for a motorbike, but he did it so fast. Like scrub the last one, really sick. I couldn't say what he struggled with. Probably like the techie camber rock slabs. Maybe the rock drop at the top. Do you know that one that Josh Lowe crashed on that lands on a wooden board? This isn't the current year. The last year was the year before.
no, I do know exactly
top,
what you mean.
Red Bull branded, big rock.
Yeah,
because the approach speed for that is so low. You like roll and pull so that your front wheel doesn't drop. So for him, he doesn't have that pull. He's got
motorbike's way worse.
He's got a throttle to keep the front up, which then means you land deep and fast.
Yeah,
right at the bottom of the board, and then you're onto a slick rock slab into a turn. So I think that bit, like, he did fine, but technically would have been the hardest because the way that you ride a motorbike isn't in the favour of that feature.
What's
cool, very cool.
What's your hardest feature? The road gap because it's blind.
No, that's like the one that is just the same every time. It's so repeatable. There's no dirt. There's no ruts. And because you come out of a really slow corner, you know that your speed's the same every time. It's almost like rolling in from a fresh. It's scary, but not difficult. The big drop at the top, they call it the rock drop, is tough because you land so fast, and I struggle. I'm kind of heavy to get rid of a lot of speed for the next turn, and you just feel wild down there.
Yeah. Some of the best clips of that, whacking that left hand.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
Would
you like to do any of it?
Oh, I would really, really enjoy it. If I could go there with you and do feature by feature, I would love to. Yeah. It's my dream. Like,
I wonder if they'll ever do that one day.
I love that stuff, like working something out, like it's like a problem. But then equally, I would absolutely not be able to cope with all of the build up and
the actual event.
The actual event would be much too much for me. I would find that too difficult.
Don't believe you.
I would find that I would be useless. Useless I'd be. But I'm not saying, oh, I'll do it. But I like...
Mate, you would.
I like to think I would try. I'm not like saying I would...
What you broke your hand on was as big and ghetto. It was like a bog lip.
Oh dear. But no, I think it's an amazing event. It's such a good one to add to the list. But I really like those environments as well, when it's like friends, especially when you're all working it out together and like
100%. Yeah,
I do actually like it working it out on my own as well. But it's why I was asking about it, because I find it interesting. Like, because that is risk. Like explaining
There's
someone
a lot of working out and thinking.
Yes.
But that's why everyone was like, wow, when Jackson won, because no one to that point had won at their first go at it before, because it's so different.
Yeah.
Like, it is really different to downhill racing.
Yeah.
And he came and went hard.
Pretty cool. He's pretty cool, isn't he?
Very cool.
Who do you like practice with? Do you follow people in for features, or do you want to hit the feature first on your own, or what are your like measures? Because I feel like you worked in risk.
Yeah, I'd definitely like to ride with certain people.
Yeah,
Bernard's very good at giving people time. He's been there a lot of years. He's got his head down. He's serious, but he's very good at giving, just advice. G as well, it is literally his event, is so nice and good at giving people the time to explain things, because they can see you're not loving it at the start. So that's so different to a typical race, right? A competitor is trying to make life easier for you. It's hard to practice with people because it's really dangerous to follow.
Okay, why is that?
If you're like the big doubles, for example, two elements, just thought of the other one. The first is if that person pulls out and doesn't jump it or gets something wrong, you're locked in. You're going so fast that as of maybe 40 foot before the lip, you don't have a choice.
Yeah,
so something can happen and you're going off it regardless, because it'd be more unsafe to try and stop and land in the middle or whatever.
Yeah.
So that sucks, because a lot of the time following people in is the first way into a new jump, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
The second one is wind resistance. If you follow someone, and I followed Matt through those doubles, he's followed me, you start off like 25 foot behind them. By the time you take off, you're like 10, because they're a windbreak to you because you're going that fast. And that's like not good, right?
Yeah.
You're following them for speed and then you end up up their arse going too fast.
I mean, it's really noticeable even at, like, people can test that at bike parks. I've just come back from Dovey and riding there. The difference between being in front and being behind is, I mean, you have to pedal so hard. If it's wet at the jumps, you pedal so hard if you're at the front. And then if you're in second, you literally just sit there.
Roll and giggle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny, isn't it? I think above a certain speed, I don't know what the speed is, it's probably calculatable, isn't it? What speed aerodynamic?
It goes from mechanical drag to like aero drag. Or
Yeah. There'll be a speed, won't there?
Yeah.
I think even when someone's
21.
quite far away, they like disturb the air even. Or like it's something a bit different about having someone ahead or having just completely, you're just cutting through just...
Clean air.
Yeah.
But in Formula One, isn't it like the opposite? They do want to draft up straights, don't they?
They do draft, but I know what you're
Isn't
saying.
there like something like dirty air where the air's moving from a car and it makes it...
Yeah,
they
it's
can
like
crash 'cause of it.
vortexing. But then I think we're not relying on the...
Downforce.
Yeah.
Imagine we were.
Imagine relying on downforce.
Imagine how cool it would be.
Imagine
Although you wouldn't want it because we're not on a
adjustable-
flat track. You don't want to be
Imagine
like forced down between rocks. Do you know what I mean? Get down there. No, the next one's massive.
Just small wings on your forks and your chainstays that allow slight downforce or up force.
That's adjustable.
Lift.
So you can glide. Right, watch it happen now. Someone will do it. Hey, I've
Just
made that
like
contraption for you.
Grip shift activated. So you just... And then
And then
make sure you're in trim.
we're walking in the air. In trim. Glider guy.
What were we talking about? Trying stuff out. Risk.
What are you scared of?
I'm definitely more scared than I used to be. But I think I used to be cocky. I don't think I'm stupid. I don't like the weirdest things, like jumping in water. I just won't do it.
Yeah, but I bet it's not the heights thing. It's probably that you just don't want to be landing in water.
Well, I can't see what's in there, so I don't
There
want
you
to do
go.
it. I don't want to do...
So you think you're like...
I'm
oh,
not
you're
scared of skydiving. I don't want to do skydiving. There's just no... I don't know.
I've never done one.
No, I just don't. It doesn't seem like it's like a smart risk. Riding through a tunnel with no lights on a road bike. Very unhappy. I'm way more happy doing a horrible gap on a... I think what it is, I don't like... The risk I don't like is like out of my hands. I don't mind if the risk is in my hands.
Yeah.
I've definitely become more cautious, I think. I'm a lot older than you.
A bit.
Bit older than you.
Yeah. I feel it happening. Yeah, like... You think about... Well, it might... Here's a question. Is it just age, or is it because you've got the wisdom and the experience of what can go wrong? Because it has. There's always those, like in the youth category and junior category in racing, there's always a kid all the time in those categories that's like the one that hasn't had the big injury yet, and they are crazy.
Yeah.
And people say it, like you hear other older racers be like, yeah, he's so pinned, but he hasn't had a big one yet. And then it winds you in a little bit, and then you have to learn because you've got that experience of then that hurt, and it meant I couldn't race for 8 weeks.
Yeah.
So is it just age that makes you a little bit tamer, or is it because you remember what can go wrong?
If I can just do a comparison to 20 years ago, if I just go 20 years ago, I was so sure that I was the man.
Yeah.
And then as you get older, I think that it's not self-doubt by any means, but I'm very comfortable not saying I don't actually know the answer to something. Or, I'm way more comfortable with that. When I was younger, I wasn't. I was like, I know everything. I'm the man. I'm going to be able to do that. Yeah, I'll try it. Whereas, so it makes it sound really rubbish that you like think about stuff more, or that you have not self-doubt, but just like you're just weighing it up more, aren't you?
Yeah.
It's funny, we had it the other day.
Yeah, also, you've done all that. Like, you've done big
Stupid
dirt jump
things.
competitions, done massive tricks, done things other people haven't done. So, like, also, what do you have to prove?
Yeah, but
There's maybe a bit of that in there.
I know what you mean, but I don't think it is that for me anyway. I would still prove anything I could.
Then or now.
Probably still now. Oh, it was funny. We went up the.
So forget what you said before.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's probably still there. I don't know. It's actually really interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean about self-doubt? It's not self-doubt. It's not. It's like I'm very comfortable just being like.
Or is it realistic?
Yeah.
And maybe you call it self-doubt because before you've
Completely
haven't
unrealistic.
had it, so you're like, well, no, it's I'm just doubting myself, or are you just actually rational, logical?
Well, I know what it feels like to try something that you have literally no idea what's going to happen. You've like got loads and loads of different outcomes that you could pick from.
Yeah.
Like the crashes, but you don't know out of those. It could be like rolling away and everyone hugging you and thinking you're great, or it could be like a broken bone, and you know all of them, dude.
Yeah. Because you can see them all happening.
Yeah.
Because they've happened before.
Mate.
When we film, we get hyper,
Yeah.
like British pie, slice of British pie. Me, who was on our segment? Me, you, Bren.
Matt.
Me, you, Bren the first time, then Matt come the second time.
Yeah, that's it. They were great fun,
and
they were.
It's just waiting for... There's just stuff that everyone doesn't want to do, and then someone's got to, and those film sessions are to live for, I think.
They are really good, aren't they?
I know I've done it. You like, well, with the canyon gap, you see the outcomes. One is get bucked, one is come up short, one is overshoot, one is bail. Like, you know what could happen based on the way you come off
the list, right?
Yeah. But when like 3 of them are the bad and 1 of them's success, you know what I mean? You can kind of like, but you still go for it. It's like cameras out, boys are here.
Simple numbers, isn't it?
Yeah.
And also there is that, like, when you're filming, there's like, well, if I chuck my bike through my legs and land on the landing on my feet, like, I know I can roll out of that and be okay.
Yeah, that's a safe one.
And it's still a positive thing. It's still going to be good to have on video. We're all going to laugh. We're all going to...
But you don't decide that rolling in. You decide it when you're coming off the lip, which means it's like if you do a reaction time trying to catch a pencil or something, isn't it like 0.2 seconds is kind of fast?
Yeah.
0.2 seconds, you're way off the lip. So you're subconsciously making the call of the outcome that you know is going to happen based on like experience. You know, when you bail, it's quicker than it's not a decision. I don't think it's just like it just happens.
Yeah,
maybe different for you in dirt jumping when you travel upwards and then.
No, I know what you're saying. No, it is.
But sometimes you're off the bike and you're like, whoa, I'm running.
Yeah,
and it's because you've selected the final outcome and you know that that's the one you have to do.
It's so bizarre,
I'd love to
isn't
talk to
it?
a psychologist, not a sports one, about like
what's actually happening.
You know, the head coaches and stuff. Maybe not one of them, but one that's like
from outside of sport.
I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Basically,
that can rationalise the thing we're talking about.
Yeah.
It's not like results driven. It's like, what are you actually...
Basically, I would stay with them until they said I would make a good fighter pilot.
Yeah. And then pay them.
Yeah.
You clearly know what you're talking about.
Right answer. Right, I've actually got a story from riding the other day that goes along this same line, because I could talk about this for all day because I really like it, and it sort of ties in with you doing Hardline. So after the ad break.
Ollie's just nipped to the bathroom, so I thought I'd just have a quick HUEL break, which is actually the perfect segue into this ad. We are extremely excited to welcome HUEL to the podcast. If, like me, you end up running late, you don't have time for breakfast, and you just end up starving all the time, like I do. We've all been there, all right? You're racing around, you're trying to do meetings, you're doing school pickups, which I don't do. Whatever it is, you're going to need something delicious, easy, quick, nutritious to fill the void. So this podcast is now sponsored by HUEL, H-U-E-L, the world's #1 complete nutrition brand with over 400 million meals sold worldwide. Yes, you heard it right. That's 400 million. HUEL is trusted by people just like you and me to fuel their days with convenient, complete nutrition. So you can now actually try it for yourself with our exclusive discount code. You can get 10, in fact, no, we're not doing 10. We're going to do 15% off with our code RIDE at HUEL.com. But I also want to tell you about my personal favorite, okay? Strawberry banana. my two favourite things. I love strawberries, I love bananas. You can't go wrong with putting them together. Plus adding 35 grams of protein. These things leave you feeling full, and you're not like scratching around for food in gas stations. You're not grabbing a quick fast food meal or whatever. You can actually tick that nutritional deficiency off with a good quality product. So yeah, this is my personal favorite. I also love the new black edition, the ready to drink. It's got another whopping 35 grams of protein, 27 different vitamins and minerals, and it all comes in one handy bottle. Basically, it tastes like milkshake, and who doesn't love milkshake? So that's 15% off with code RIDE at HUEL.com. Unlock a healthier, easier way to eat with HUEL. Nutritionally complete meals in minutes so you can focus on what really matters. Biking. Cheers, HUEL.
Back in with the story about risk. So there was a the DJ Zesty, follow him on Instagram. He built a drop for a video part up in the Surrey Hills, and it's actually really quite horrible. I heard he built it up there. It's by that Rampage line. I heard he built it up there, and then I went up to have a look, and I was on like a ride, and I was literally just with John.
Yeah.
From Propane, and I think that was it. I think I was just with John from Propane. Anyway, we went up there, and I didn't think it would be big, but then the fact it was just him and I, and I'm super comfortable with him. He's one of my best mates for as long as I can remember, and I was just like, God, this is like the perfect environment for me to do it. This is like my favourite thing, and it's like a problem working it out. But it was funny because I was with John and we were both there, and then there was some other people just like looking at it, because people come just literally to look at it because it's horrible. It's like like a really big drop, really big run out, loads of consequence, loads of trees, it's slightly hipped, and like when do you go off a drop, and it's blind. It's just quite horrible. I mean, you're going to get bullied into doing it at some point anyway, so you'll see. But I had no information, and I was just talking to John, who I'm super comfortable with, and then there's these other people just watching you, and you sort of realise how mental it is. And like, John and I are scrolling through Zesty's Instagram looking for like any bit of information, and then because I know John so well, I'm like, well, I don't want to like, I'm going through all of the crashes, and I can guarantee you would have all of the same crashes. The list would be exactly the same. Like, I don't want to. If I KSL
talk about it next time we're somewhere like that.
Yeah, it is interesting, isn't it?
Saying it out loud would mean we wouldn't do it, but
I don't know if it would, because
I bet they are all the same.
I prefer people to
validate your list.
Yeah, but I also kind of thought, well, at least those people that are watching from the side, at least they don't think it's just like an Evel Knievel kind of a gig.
Yeah.
You know, like when they were like, why is he talking about all of these different crashes and the outcomes of them and stuff? It was like, at least then they would not think it was just like good to have a go. Hope. Because I think about it a lot with bike parks. I think like features are really big at bike parks now, aren't they? And I wouldn't go through the same process as I do in the woods.
Yeah. Bit of trust, isn't it? Because it's like been machine built, and it's a commercial place and has been hit before. Yeah, the ghetto stuff in the woods is always the higher risk feeling stuff.
Yeah. You just feel like you're in the...
If a bike park jump wouldn't be there if the outcome was always a bad one. So you're like, you know what I mean? You've got that, you're
just a terrible
bit of confidence,
terrible
just
run
dropping in. Yeah. Oh, don't do that one.
Have you done the jump at the end of Widowmaker?
No one has. Get your day tickets here. I did. It's talking about what you did, going in on your own, just with John, no information. The same with the last drop of G's Ridgeline.
Oh, no. You did that
Pushed up and did it with just a mate. And
wicked.
had no information. And
Yeah,
you're like on Instagram, like looking at finding vids of it being done. You're like, okay, but he did the one before as running. And that's
mate,
like
any hint
not
is like,
running. And
yeah.
But man, I went far, like dumb far.
That's massive.
Scratched on my lens on my stem of my goggles, like headbutting the bars. GoPro came off. Bent my seat sideways down, so it was like the top of the seat was in line with the seat post. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Bruised on my bum and thigh. Like,
so you like
didn't crash,
overcompensated
but just
in
the
speed.
heaviest one. Yeah.
I'm always well
Good
impressed.
experience though.
Yeah.
And then you like did it with no help and did it bad.
It's cool though. I'm always well impressed with G's builds. I always think are really impressive because they require so much speed. Like he does everything.
And skill. Nothing's ever like it, whenever you see his edits, you're like, that could have had another week of prep. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, no, that's ready.
But they're always such high speed. It's like
Yeah.
it's my opposite. It's my jumps wise, hitting jumps at that speed. I don't even know what a bike does at that speed. Even in like
Yeah. But then, but he doesn't need to ride him that fast. I think that's just him. Like he's you see doing like 80-foot step downs on some kind of rocky loose landings.
Yeah.
And you can see his bum drop off of lips, like he's
Yeah.
racing them, which just means you could do the line slower. But no,
that's pretty
it's
cool.
so
isn't it?
cool.
Yeah.
And when he did that ridge line, I remember chatting to him about it, and he's like similar to what Jonny was doing on the big hardline double, which is braking and then letting go,
Yeah.
which just means he's riding it like just like a boss, but unnecessarily fast because the edit's so sick. Watching him between stuff is like so aggressive, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sick. Big fan.
Yeah, I am too. All of the lips look like well, it's because he's going so fast. The lips look like they're like big compressions,
Yeah.
and then the bike's like sumped and then
Yeah.
sailing.
There might be a product of how it's built. It's like built to do it at the correct speed.
100%,
That he probably
yeah.
does.
Yeah.
And then he'll do like a day of race runs down it, and then the cameras come on. And like you say, the lips look like they're wrong because they actually are. They're not built for that speed anymore, but he's just charging.
Going so
Really
quick.
cool. Probably why I got the last one so wrong, because I'm like I probably watched his vid.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And then I pulled and he raced.
It's weird to think that's the difference on a mountain bike is that much, pulling or racing, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
the outcome
Makes a
is so
big
big
difference, doesn't it?
Especially on a drop
Yeah.
and on a jump. But then on a moto, you've got a throttle, which is even worse. Sorry, I'm thinking back to
Very cool art. You know, Bren's The Rock, obviously you were there, the big drop. Like imagine for one speed, the variety of distances you could go based on what you did off it for such a slow feature.
Yeah.
It'd be like 25-foot variance, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I find it.
And he gets it perfect.
We were talking. I was talking about that with someone. We were weirdly talking about sports psychologists. We were talking about what you say to. I was talking to my brother, who's a basketball coach, and he was talking about what you say in the timeouts. I was just asking him like,
That's a cool question.
nerd
I want to know the
questions.
answer.
But it made me think. It made me think about because I can't really at Rampage. I don't know how to be a coach and on any sport, whatever. But I know I think about what I'm saying more on Rampage finals day than the rest of the time, and I know I think about it a lot. So before finals, obviously we're all trying to like just make it a slightly light-hearted experience. It's horrible, as you know.
Yeah.
But I'd always ask Brent about his breaking points, and it's amazing the amount of information he can give you on where he breaks up to, because he's working all out on his own, like like exactly what we're talking about. You got a team around you, but like, what can I say? Yeah, I reckon that's fast enough, mate. Yeah, go for it. Yeah,
bit more squeeze.
Yeah, like I will say when I think I actually have any useful information, but most of the time you know he's going to know better than you can tell from the sideline, isn't he?
Yeah. You know that he knows the answer. He just wants to say it out loud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then on finals day, I'll just ask him questions and get him to go over it because he'd never done a full line. I think it's really important to remember those breaking points and stuff. And then we were talking about finals day. obviously he'd never flipped that canyon. Blah blah blah. Going on about Rampage again, but it is sort of interesting.
It's big.
So he's never flipped. He flipped that canyon in 2019.
Yes.
He's terrified of flipping that canyon. Literally, just like absolutely doesn't want to do it. Morning of finals, rides it and overshoots it like 2 times. Horrible compression up the lip. Went too quick in and just the lip's made so you can go make a downhill bike go upside down and travel 50 foot
Distance, yeah.
So it's like actually a horrible lip. It's not like nice, but it does the job. But I can't then go to him, go slower. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I believe personally that he probably should go slower because he's going to be pulling up and it's going to give him more distance. The flip's going to give him more distance in the instance of a long jump.
Yeah.
God, see, it's so complicated, all of it,
All of
actually. And it's what a useless thing to have so much information about.
And then it all just comes together and works.
Yeah.
I've seen him do it. In Leger, there's this really, really off-piste steep chute, and we were about to drop in, and I said, how are you going to stop? Like, it's one of those ones where you're like, well, you're not. You just got to deal with it when you're down there and slap the rut. And he's like, no, just hit that stump. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, watch this. And he went down, and there's a stump with some dirt on it, which to me is like a lip. Like, don't go off that, because then you're off the ground.
Yeah.
And he, like, did a press up off his bars as his front wheel met it. Got all of that traction that we spoke about before. Do you know what I mean? And got rid of so much speed, and then didn't take off the stump because he got rid of that speed and like used it as a reset. And then, you know, you're like, great, that's how you do it, and I can't do that.
Yeah, it's true, isn't it?
But like,
it's
like,
true.
It's interesting. He's a king at braking, but I'm looking at that thinking, right, don't hit that, and he's looking at it and saying, that's my ticket.
So interesting, dude.
Yeah.
What do you think your strong points were as a racer, and what do you think your?
I actually think I was really good at braking.
Yeah,
which is so weird. Like, not like him, but I do think that I was. The art of it, a lot of those big downhill races, especially like big events in Europe and things where it's not dirt, you're on rock a lot. It's just not locking up.
right.
Because you start locking up and you're on some steep with a bit of camber, like you fall with the camber the second you lock.
Yeah.
So it's really modulating it. But I don't know how I learnt that. Grew up riding a one brake hardtail.
Yeah, in
on
a
sand.
sandy hero
Yeah.
dirt on a 20-second hill.
Yeah.
It's bizarre, isn't it?
And then, and jumps, I guess, which is another product of where you grow up and what you ride. Rode loads of jumps.
Jumps,
But mad that this country can produce some of the world's best downhillers, I think.
isn't it?
I think it's the repetitiveness of having short hills to ride. If you grew up in Morsey and you'd do a top to bottom run and think, yeah, I went pretty fast, but if you messed up 6 corners and got 20 right, you'd feel good. When you go to Woburn and the tracks are 3 corners long, if you get one wrong, you've messed up a whole third. You just push straight to the top and do that again and again and again and again until you get 100% right. I think that makes a lot of our, especially English, when you haven't got massive mountains, decent riders. Don't know if you agree.
No, I absolutely agree. Where do you reckon you'd live if you were racing World Cup downhill now? Woburn.
Oh, I don't know.
It's hard, isn't it?
Barcelona sort of thing.
Would you? Yeah, there are
Do
some
lots of
amazing.
pretty safe, long, decent road rides and long rides, and then there's some really good, quiet bike parks that are pretty weatherproof or the weather's consistent. Short flight from home. It's tough. You want to live somewhere that's got amazing summer biking, which is a long list, but then when summer comes you go away racing and you don't get to use it, so you've got to think of a good winter spot.
Yeah.
Like Andorra, a lot of people are there, great, but all off season it's snowy, so where are you actually going to train?
I find it really interesting because obviously Bernard's grown up around here.
In New Zealand, sorry, you just mentioned about it, they've all gone there. Of course it would.
Well, it's tough to see that.
I've just never been. Queenstown, I've done Road
Have
to
you
Rua
not?
for Crankworx.
Okay.
Fantastic event. Flew to the other side of the world. My parents came to watch. They were like travelling around New Zealand. after my mum retired, I think. It's like a big trip. Matt and I were there. Matt was doing Crankworx slopestyle. I was doing Crankworx downhill.
That is so
and
cool.
A-line. So yeah, a fantastic event, Crankworx. It brings together all the disciplines. Mum and Dad got to be there to watch. So the whole family, other side of the world. I did A-line, not A-line, Air DH, which in Whistler is raced on a track called A-line. It's the downhill race of jumps, basically, but they're all small. So they call it Air DH, and at Rotorua in New Zealand, they held it on a jumpy tabletop track. When you sign on for the event, you're given a transponder that's allocated to your name. So regardless of what bike you race, you just swap it between. You can probably guess where this story's going. I was riding my DMR sled at the time on, thank you, Olly, for designing it, on Air DH. And then the next day was the big downhill Crankworx event. I got to the top after a good practice, all ready to race, rolled into the start line. Timing system was set up, and the start marshal said, "Where's your transponder?" And it was on my other bike. Oh. Yes. So obviously, like, they'd have a backup technology, right? You'd like break the beam, typical format. No,
Yeah.
right
Really?
down the road, kiddo.
Oh no!
Yeah. I think I cried.
Did you?
I think so.
When you say think, you did cry.
Yeah.
You cried.
Yeah.
Yeah. Were mum and
But I
dad
was
like?
really, really young. I was like 18. So, to get further down the story, and Brendan was there. I remember he was like near the top. He got off the uplift, and I was pushing the wrong way. He's like, "What's going on?" I was like, "I don't have a transponder." And bless him, he went and spoke to them because he's like a face, right? He didn't want to know. And I'd missed my start by this point. Like the race had gone, other side of the world. I'll mention again. So right down the road, and like went and found mum and dad, who was like just still staring up the hill, thinking I'm up there like with a broken arm or something. Do you know what I mean? I haven't appeared at the time I'm meant to.
Yeah, of course.
Told them. Mum's like, "Oh, don't worry about it. It's fine." Dad's like, "You pillock." But don't worry, because Matt's got Crankworx finals tomorrow. Smashes his wrist to a million pieces, like start of practice. So what a trip.
Oh mate, that's
Both
an
their
awful.
boys had bad events,
I'm sure they didn't care.
but all good now. Yeah.
I'm sure they didn't care.
So then they were like, they're a curse. So they didn't come and watch us for years. Until Fort William World Cup. A few years later, they were like, "No, we're going to come and watch you at this one. Not 2024. This was like 2019. Dad come to the top with me. And I was like, "Can you film me on the gondola down? Like, you can time it sometimes where the whole top section, you're like over the top of them."
Yeah.
So I did my warm up at the top. This is when I was still doing well, but it started crashing a bit. And lo and behold, he gets in the gondola, is over the top of me, and like 4 corners in, bang, broke my wrist. Yeah. So then I just stopped coming to watch for a few years. Yeah.
I just had a funny thought.
It's not all rainbows.
I mean, getting your parents to film content
Yeah. It would have been
produce
front cam.
some really, really interesting results. Like if
That should
everyone
be a series, shouldn't it?
I'd
Yeah.
love to like go into the woods with mum and an iPhone and have her try and get my, like, she just wouldn't. Oh, it'd be
Yeah.
so funny. It actually would be funny.
It should be a thing.
Mum cam. Oh, that's well good.
Yeah.
What's your favorite? So your favorite race ever was? Favorite? No, well, that's what we were talking about. That's sorry, I got confused. Then you would move to.
Just Queenstown looks ridiculously good.
Yeah.
Don't know if it's a product of like really top riders always posting from it in the winter. So it just looks like every turn's a big drift, shroud, perfect. But I mean, it is just amazing there, right? Otherwise they wouldn't keep going.
Oh, it makes me so mad that always the barrage of posts down those perfect tracks that cut into the hillside. They're not like rutted out. They're perfect, ready for you to whack every turn and jump off stuff.
And everyone does whack every turn.
Yeah.
And like, if someone
We
builds...
sound like such losers.
Yeah. Or I'm just jealous. But
Everyone does whack every turn.
They do whack them all, and they're all perfect. But if you whacked a turn here and someone had spent weeks building a track, like, you're getting a message. You know? They're like, "Cheers, pal.
Yeah.
Where's your respect?"
Nice one.
And they're like, turns are getting whacked all day, smashed to bits, and yet every day they're perfect. So
I
the
don't
dig crews they
understand it.
must have there are like
Yeah, but what are they doing with the dirt? They're bringing it in and refilling. Are they refilling every turn? It's insane.
Have to be.
Because you know, like
the network they've got there is, yeah. Props to the trail crew. Props.
Again, at Dovey, there's that sick track through the trees where it goes really dark. Do you know what I mean?
On racetrack.
Like how deep it is from tyres, like just soaring into the ground.
Yeah.
And then I guess water as well. But still, you'd think it would happen in New Zealand. I only ever went there once, and I went for 5 days.
For Death Grip. Yeah.
For filming for 5 days, which was it's really insane. It's much further than...
got over jet lag when it was time to fly back.
Yeah. It's much further than I you know, like someone can tell you the number of hours and you're like, sure, whatever.
I found the same. I didn't go for long.
No, it's twice as long as you think it's going to be, isn't it? It's basically 2 times too far.
Mm.
Imagine if the world was twice as big.
Or planes were
twice as slow. Strange that has the same effect. If planes are just half as fast, the world becomes twice as big.
Yeah, hurry up, plane.
Have you got anything?
Can't they do it direct now? Well, Australia's direct from Heathrow. I think you can do it.
Really?
Oh, I'm going to be proved wrong. To Perth.
Wow.
Yeah. What do you reckon that is? 18 hours?
So that can the wings are the same size, but the engines, have you noticed they're getting way bigger?
Are they?
Yeah.
You think they get more efficient and get smaller?
They're getting bigger and more efficient. Pretty cool.
That is.
There's a new Rolls-Royce one that's meant to change.
Wing being
aviation.
bigger, you say, because that's where the fuel is?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Rolls-Royce one's going to change the game.
Apparently, yeah.
British engineering.
Pretty cool. Hey, you sort of managed to dodge. We started this whole thing off. This is a new year. You're no longer working in finance. What are you doing? Why do you talk? There's been so much speculation online.
There has. It's a really exciting time. I'm working with Matt, which is like a dream come true to work with your twin brother on a project.
You're like a politician.
Why am I dodging the question?
Yeah, it's just amazing. You just have all these like. Oh, are you?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Right. Sorry, dude, to ruin the flow. Carry on.
It's all good.
Yeah.
But like I said, a dream to be working with my brother full time. There has been a lot of speculation online of what we're doing. It's going to be really sick. I'm really, really excited. But I think it's for Matt to break the news because it would be an injustice to all the work that he's done already up to me coming on board. And there has been a lot. So it's his to break. So yes,
wicked.
Call me a politician. But no,
I'm
very
joking.
excited to be able to talk about it because it's going to be rad.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I was only giving you a hard time. It's just you're good at it. Mate, normally we'd go to listen to questions. But because the boss is away, I haven't put any up. So I think this is just the end of the podcast.
I've really enjoyed it.
I have.
This time last year, because I was the first guest, wasn't I, last year?
Yeah.
Same again.
Mm-hmm.
We did a sauna before, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
And it zapped me.
I think
I've enjoyed this. Maybe it was the Magic Mind.
Brilliant. Full circle. Great work.
Thanks, Magic Mind.
I think it's it's almost a weird one because it's like I feel like we're so silly together that you have to sort of permanently rein it in. That's what it feels like to me doing a podcast with you.
Same.
Yeah.
It's like we're interviewing each other, which is a lot of what a podcast is.
Well, it is and it isn't. But, like, dude.
Yeah.
But it would be too much. Why would it be too much? It would be too much. I think we're both aware
really
it would
similar,
be too. Just silly men.
Yeah. Might not be appreciated by everyone.
I don't think it would. But I've really enjoyed this anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have. Thanks for having me. Sorry that Davey couldn't be here.
Absolutely. He'll be back soon and then we'll get you on.
Yeah.
We'll get you on again. Why not?
Yeah. We should do it bi-weekly.
I've said you're a good politician. We should campaign for your slot because you didn't come far off guest of the year. We should campaign for you being guest of the year 25.
What, and start early?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
you've got a whole year now.
Can people start voting?
They can't yet. But like, I think we should, I reckon you should start a campaign, maybe merch, maybe like a hat in a particular colour and vote.
Madja.
Yeah. Nice.
No, that'd still be America.
Make America Jono again. I like it.
It's ironic.
Green hat, Madja. Make America Jono again. Thanks for joining us. You're the man.
Thank you.
Peace and love. Like and subscribe. Thanks for listening. All the best.
Mate, what an episode.
Brilliant. I thought you were really great, Davey.
Mate, and I thought you were even better.
Thanks, dude.
Better
Thanks,
than
dude.
normal.
Oh, cheers.
Hey, how about we tell our lovely podcast community to hit subscribe here.
Yeah.
Click on the video on Ollie's face.
That's right.
Click on the video on my face.
Yeah.
And follow us at The Ride Companion on Instagram.
They can like and comment as well.
Please do.
I'm gonna try and get this energy and I'm gonna bring it into next week.
Let's fast forward to next week's episode.
Done.